I'm good. Good evening, Julian. How are things in Paris this evening?
Well, things are pretty good here. And what I was wondering about is what actually happened to you last week. I'm sure something must have happened.
Well, yeah, there was something that happened, and I kind of file this under what is a customer's time worth.
Okay.
I we got a like a fire pit, like a propane fire pit for the backyard. So it looks pretty. It's got these glass particles over it, and the flame comes up, and it's nice and warm, and it's a great thing to have in the backyard on a cool evening to sit around and enjoy. And when we got it, it turned out not to be that hard to put together. It was actually one of the first things that my wife and I put together, and we didn't fight. She did
That's a
let
good
me know a
sign.
couple things that I was trying to do wrong that she figured out right, but that was
That's
smooth,
how it should be.
and she was right. Uh, and one of the nice things was, you need a propane tank for this, and they had a $10 off coupon for the propane. I'm like, oh, that's nice, unexpected, good plus. Um, so when I got into the package, there was this thing. It said, "Here's how to get your coupon." I'm like, okay. Then a couple days later, actually got to the point of, okay, I'm going to get this coupon. $10 is great. I want that. Turned out it was a mail-in rebate. You had to go to the website, register, print out a PDF, fill in the PDF, get a receipt of the propane canister, which you could only get from one of two primary vendors. So you had to make sure you went to the right place to get it. And then you had to also get the receipt from the fire pit, put all that together in a package, mail that off to somebody, and in 3 months you would get a check. My wife is the sort of person that she will battle for every penny from a company, but I walked her through that. She said, "No, that's ridiculous. No, why would anyone ever do that?" So for me, it was a big, frustrating negative. It's interesting though, for the company on one level, I mean, I don't like them, but on one level it was successful because I was initially like, oh, all right, maybe I'll do it. So I made sure I bought that brand of canister. So the company got the business that the competitor might have gotten otherwise, because there's a closer place that sells the competing one, and I might have gone there. But it certainly went from, oh, isn't this a nice perk, to, oh, I don't like you for giving me this. And it just, for $100 rebate, I'll be cranky that I had to do all that work, but I'll do it. $10, no. It's just, for
Uh,
$10, it should be smile.
I don't really know how much a can would cost. But what does $10 represent? Is it like 10%? Is it 50% of the total price?
It's 20%. It was about $50. So it's a
But
decent
still,
percentage, but the dollar number is just way too
the, the
small.
the
That's
way I usually do it, and that's very personal, but the way I usually do it is I try to compare what my salary looks like and how much am I paid per hour. And if you're gonna ask me to do something that would take 3 hours of my time and that will bring much less than what I earn in a single hour, I'm just going to be wondering, really, is that worth my time? And that's probably a sad way of doing it, because you can't summarize your entire life to how much you're paid in your job, I guess. But still, time is money, and I would agree with you. So much pain for $10, probably not worth
not
it.
not nearly worth it. Actually, it's interesting because that's the exact same math I do. Is, okay, here's my salary, and so it's probably at least a half-hour process. Just gathering the receipts and everything. And for me, it's going to be an hour because I just tend to not keep receipts in organized places or things like that. So $20 an hour, I don't feel like that's a good
That
use of my time.
That actually reminds me of another story. Not that I experienced it myself. I just read about it because it was so huge that people had to write an article about it. That was in some popular
Oh, that
magazine in
sounds
France.
good.
So there is a very old, very, very dusty law that exists in France that no one ever uses, but it does exist, that says that a company that owes you under a certain amount of money, they might pay you back in cash, or they might actually pay you back in stamps. So you can imagine that the kind of law that made sense 100 years ago, when everyone was sending letters back and forth. And then you had, I can't even remember the brand now because it was a long time ago, but you had this brand that had this vending machines where you buy a soda. And sometimes what happens is you put a coin into it, and the can never falls, so you never get your can. And that was a story of a guy who that was a journalist, actually, that's why it turned into an article, who went bought something, and he had all the proofs and everything of the few cans that he tried to buy in that vending machine, and he got his coin swallowed away a few times in a row. And then the company actually paid him back, but what they discovered is that this company pays every customer in stamps, which is a complete waste, because who does use stamps nowadays, right? And that's exactly the same story that you have here. What I mean by that is you're trying to make something nice that's going to make your customer happy. At the end of the day, the result is the exact opposite of your original expectation. You are at best uninterested, at worst very frustrated, or maybe you even feel cheated because you got attracted in the first place by a shiny $10 coupon that actually
Right.
is never going to show up, or not worth the $10 you're going to get. That is a terrible thing. And even though with you're telling me, well, you bought from them anyway, I guess it's going to be a one-off. They haven't built anything long-term with you.
Right. Yeah, they absolutely haven't. And I will probably make a point to go to the other place to swap that one out to make sure they don't get the ongoing subscription business, which, propane is at some level. Yeah, it's funny when you talk about stamps. I'm old enough to remember there was something in the US called green stamps. And what would happen, there's variations of it today, but what would happen is you'd buy stuff at certain stores and they would give you these stamps, and they had, the 1 cent stamps and the 10-cent stamps, and you'd get a book and you'd lick them and put them in, and eventually, you'd get however much, a couple of dollars back for it. So similar thing where the nowadays the price just isn't worth it. The other thought that I had was, what was interesting was on the box of the fire pit was a big sign that said, $10 off. Now, I bought from Amazon, so I didn't see that. I guess this would be in stores and people would see it. It might be the thing that tips them into buying that fire pit, but I don't know. Even that, I think, is just bad shine all the way around.
Yeah, that's probably the wrong partnership or the wrong way of advertising the discount. Well, do you feel any better talking about it now?
I do. I feel like my time, you validated the value of my time. And
your time is very valuable, and I do appreciate you spending time talking with me on this couch.
Well, and I feel better for it, so thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Max, and I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Take care.
Bye.